Welcome to Turning Moments into Movements, where each week we explore simple but powerful wellbeing tips to help you live a balanced and fulfilling life. My name's Leanne Ross, your host and the founder and coach of my business, Happy Luya, and I will be taking you through today's 15 minutes of insight and inspiration. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. This week's episode is going to be saying goodbye to imposter syndrome. Now there's two parts to this. The first part is going to be all about education, but there is a follow-up. So make sure that you do stay tuned to the end so you can find out a bit more about that. So, and I will cover this a little bit more in the episode, but imposter syndrome affects so many people, but primarily women. So I decided to release this in relation to celebrating International Women's Day, just because this is something that so many women, women that I know, women that I know of, and myself as well, we've all experienced imposter syndrome at times in our life. So it was something I felt really driven to. I do a full workshop on this, which is a lot more in depth. So if you are interested to hear about that, give me a shout because I do release them quite regularly. But yeah, let's just dive in. So what is imposter syndrome? So the National Institute of Health explains that imposter syndrome is a behavioural health phenomenon described as self-doubt of intellect, skills, or accomplishments among high-achieving individuals. So really breaking that down, it's people who are doing really well in life that start to second-guess themselves, that start to believe that they truly are an imposter. And this can have so many implications in our lives if that's the space that we're in. So this is why I really wanted to cover it today, because it's such a prevalent topic, and it comes up time and time again. So I really felt empowered to do an episode on that today. So what we're going to be covering is the what, the who, the how, the where, the why, and then the when. So we have kind of covered what imposter syndrome is, but who does it affect? So I have explained that imposter syndrome typically does affect women, but it does also affect men as well. So looking at a couple of statistics, Forbes magazine have explained that 75% of high-achieving women in the workplace experience imposter syndrome. That is 3/4. 3/4 of women in high-achieving jobs are affected by imposter syndrome. 60% are affected when they are looking to start their own business. And oh my word, I can totally relate to that. There's been so many times where I'm like, what on earth am I doing? How can I even navigate this? What does this look like? Am I actually cut out for this? So it's definitely something that I can relate to, and I know so many other people can as well. Here's a little taste of other people who have openly acknowledged their struggles with imposter syndrome. And I really love the vulnerability around this, because I think people talking about it helps us to continue the conversation. So we have Michelle Obama, we have Serena Williams, Emma Watson, David Bowie, Penelope Cruz, Tom Hanks. The list is endless, but they are some of the people who have explicitly said that they really do struggle with that imposter syndrome. And I've purposely chosen well-known individuals to give you a taste on how this can really impact everyone. I mean, look at all of that list of people. Really successful in their careers, really well known, and if it can affect them, it can affect everyone else. So how does this come about? How does imposter syndrome come into our lives? So what I would say on that is it generally comes from a place of conditioning. We as individuals are conditioned by society. We're conditioned through our parenting, the parenting that we've received. We're conditioned through our education system. We're conditioned through our jobs. And conditioning really is where we're shaped and morphed into humans. So our personalities might change, our skill sets might change, our belief systems, our perceptions on life. They are all formed based on our individual experiences. And this can really shape us to have imposter syndrome. So think back to an example, maybe when you were in school. And you maybe, did a test or applied for a subject and were told that you just weren't good enough for it. Thinking back again, it could be that you had a relative who told you, oh, yeah, you've said that you want to be an astronaut, but realistically, you're not going to manage that because you're not good for, you're not good enough at these specific subjects. It could be society. Society has taught us that we sometimes have to play small because if we play big, we might fail. We might look a fool in front of people. So you see how all of these messages begin to imprint on our understanding around ourselves. So sometimes when we are successful and when we are doing really well and we're told that, that's where that doubt comes in. It comes from that place of being conditioned. And we have doubts in our ability. I have been told so many times, oh, you're just so good at what you do, Leanne. And in my head, I am screaming. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen when they find out that I am a fraud? Now, I am really fortunate that I've had really good results. I've got lots of certificates. So I've got evidence that I've done well in some areas of my life, but I still experience imposter syndrome. And I know I'm not the only one. So this is why it's so important that we have these continued conversations. So we've covered the what, the who, and the how. Where does imposter syndrome come up in life? So typically I cover the two areas, progression and praise. When we're looking at progression, if you have been in a place where you have been encouraged to go for a job promotion, or you have been looking for a new job and you feel empowered to go for this job that maybe feels a little bit out with your reach, this is quite often when we experience imposter syndrome. Most of my listeners who listen to my podcast are women. So I will kind of mention this part again in relation to women. The stats show that most women will basically put on their application form that they are capable of X amount of things. They're able to kind of match some of the job description. Whilst men, the research suggests they will overestimate. That's the word I'm looking for. So women will typically underestimate their abilities in their job application form, whilst men will typically overestimate. And once again, I'm just talking about generally speaking, but really reflect on how impactful that will be if you continue to do that in life. If you continue to undersell yourself, if you continue to not reach your full potential, if you continue to keep yourself small. So when we have those opportunities to progress, imposter syndrome will come up time and time again if it's not something that we're acknowledging and not something that we're looking to really shift and to challenge. Similarly, praise. Praise is another one. So if we've been praised for something that we've done really well, if it's that we've been praised for a piece of work, or if we have been praised in anticipation of doing a task well, that can also lead to those feelings of being an imposter. We might think that they're not being truthful. We might feel that we've tricked them, that we're a fraud, that we're an imposter, and we couldn't possibly provide that level of quality that they're claiming that we have or will produce. The other P is perfectionism. As a recovering perfectionist myself, I understand how difficult it is when you are striving for perfection. Because when you're striving for perfection, you're striving for just a constant sort of goal that will always be out with your reach. Because on the odd occasion when you do hit that perfectionism, it will not last. And that's a real steep learning curve that I had to really acknowledge and hated learning about. I wanted a perfect life. I wanted to be a perfect coach. I wanted to be a perfect businesswoman. But when you're seeking that level of perfection, it's inevitably that you're not going to obtain that consistently. So then that feelings of imposter syndrome are really exaggerated and they really come on strong. Looking at the why, and this is more around kind of the impacts of, why it affects us in such a challenging way. So it can come up because it can cause barriers to our whole life. It can affect career progression. It can cause blocks within relationships. You might feel that you're not a perfect partner to your loved one. So you might feel that you're a bit of a fraud, and you have to almost put on a facade to be this person. And it can really lead to negative implications of well-being. It can cause poor mental health, can cause low self-esteem, low confidence. And that's why I wanted to kind of focus on the why, because why are we talking about this? If we focus on the why and are able to change this aspect, that really helps us to stay motivated. So why do you want to not have low self-esteem? Why do you not want to have low confidence? Why do you want to work on those barriers in your life? Why do you want to have career progression? Why do you want to have positive relationships? And I ask this rhetorically because I know there will be so many answers, but sometimes focusing on your why is going to be the best way to really increase that motivation in order for you to really flourish. The last one is when. When will you feel ready to make these changes happen? When will you feel empowered to challenge this aspect of imposter syndrome? When is it time to say goodbye? And ultimately, that's up to you. But what I would really love to invite you to do is to book a call with me. Now, my link will be in the show notes, but I would love for you to book a call with me so we can have a discussion around imposter syndrome and how this is really impacting you. And what I would really love is for you to just trust the system and feel really deserving of the support and feel deserving of asking these questions. Why is it that I'm suffering from imposter syndrome? And why is it that I need to change that? And I need to nurture that. And I need to acknowledge that need, that unmet need. So this is the part 2 for the follow-up. Please book a call with me because I have so much confidence that I can help you with this because I've been there and I've done it. I've experienced it to such a high level where it completely took over my whole life and it blocked every single area, every single road within my life at one point. So I had to work really frigging hard to surpass that and to move away from that and to shift away from that. And I'm so excited that I can help you to do the same. So that is your call to action for, the next week coming. Book a call with me. Let's have a chat. Let's just talk it all out. Let's put the world to rights and really taking that step towards you saying goodbye to imposter syndrome. And I'm so excited for you to do it. So excited. Thank you so much for listening, as always. And yes, I will speak to you all next week. Take care. Thanks. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Turning Moments into Movements. Why not check out coaching opportunities with me so you can really begin to enhance your moments into huge movements and begin to live the life you never thought possible? Details are in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, leave a review and share this episode. Remember to also follow me on social media platforms through my handle Happyluya, where you will receive additional daily content. And finally, make sure you join us next week for more tips on how you can turn your small moments into life-changing movements.